I find it incredibly ironic that this advertisement for the new 3DS XL features all of these 20-year-old adults having fun and enjoying their 3DS when there's absolutely no enjoyment to be had anymore. Nintendo now basically acts like an overprotective parent for their users. They censor basically everything, except they don't at the same time because the censorship is only on certain things for basically no reason. Whenever Nintendo has Wii U Chat, which allows you to video chat with people over the internet, it kinda brings up some questions as to why other platforms are being censored in such ridiculous ways when clearly they don't need to be. So let's talk about Swapnote. Swapnote was one of the reasons I bought a 3DS back in probably early 2013. It's basically the new version of PictoChat, and it used to let you send your drawings to people over the internet. However, as you can see now, it can only use a thing called Street Pass, and that it's basically worthless now because Street Pass just doesn't work to begin with. Street Pass is a really bad idea. It basically takes some sort of data and constantly broadcasts it while your DS is asleep to other people around you, and it doesn't work when you're actually using it. In fact, it barely works at all. So allegedly, some websites such as CANT says that people were using the Spot Pass, which is the internet connectivity option for Swapnote, to distribute or to... and that this is why the Spot Pass functionality was disabled because of this. When you think about that, it really doesn't make any sense because at the time, Pokemon X had only been around for less than a month, and that was the only way of meeting strangers through your 3DS. Now, without Pokemon X, the only way to exchange your friend code would be to communicate with someone outside of the system, so you'd have to know them well enough to exchange your incredibly long friend code with each other. So even if you're exchanging your code over the internet, you have to have some form of communication with them, and you have to be able to know who they are. If Nintendo really disabled Swapnote because of this, because they are protecting children by disabling the service altogether, then they wouldn't include a web browser either. I really think this story was just an excuse Nintendo could use to shut down their exchange services, because hosting all the new servers for Pokemon X was probably costing them an incredible amount of money, and those extra servers probably weren't being used nearly as much, so they could easily shut them down and improve their bottom line, while giving users a "my children" reason for being shut down instead. Let's talk about Flipnote. So Flipnote was supposed to come out around August 2013 in the US. It came out in July 2013 in Japan, but that was a complete lie. Flipnote didn't get released for the 3DS until February 10th, 2015. So after this huge delay, they finally released Flipnote, and it's got all these censorship features, like you can't type Nintendo, but you can type Nintendo and add an F in front of it using another string. Not only that, but the text input command also doesn't allow you to type in more than 5 numbers in one string. Of course, you can separate it up and, add multiple strings and have as many numbers as you want, but this is just an inconvenience. This doesn't stop anything. This doesn't stop little kids from sharing anything because Flipnote doesn't have an exchange service. You have to know someone in real life to exchange a Flipnote with each other. I don't know what Nintendo is solving there. So at least Flipnote 3D is vastly superior in every way to the original Flipnote, except the fact that you can't share anything or see anyone else's content for some reason. It completely ruins the whole point of Flipnote altogether if you can't share what you've made. Like, for real, why would they do that?
All right, so I'm adding this part in 2025, just so I can, add a couple little notes. So this has been 10 years since I made that previous video. So you saw how weird and censored Flipnote was? Guess what? You couldn't even get Flipnote unless you were a Club Nintendo member. Now, maybe the Japanese version, which had been out for years before the US got Flipnote 3DS, maybe that didn't have as many restrictions, but I don't know. I remember Flipnote on the DSi was insane. It was so cool. The Flipnote Hatana, that was like the best thing ever. That was a place where anyone could upload their Flipnote animations via the DSi online. But no, you can't have that on the 3DS. How dare you want to share your creations? And speaking of the DSi, the Swapnote Street Pass feature of the 3DS was inferior to PictoChat in every way. I mean, they were different. PictoChat was a real-time, local device-to-device chat system, whereas StreetPass would let you send one message to everyone who passes by you, but only when your device was in sleep mode. But yeah, if you live in the woods like me, pretty much no one used StreetPass, even in the city. So I understand what they were going for, but it's not even comparable. And it's kind of stupid. Yeah, like, let me just transmit constantly when I'm not using the device, instead of turning it off. Remember, you couldn't even change the batteries on these things, so pretty much no one even used this. You're not ever getting anybody using StreetPass back in the day. It's just not happening. When Swapnote had full internet access, it was sorta kinda like PictoChat over the internet, which was cool. And I had a ton of friends on there that I met online, and when they shut down the online access, all those people are just gone, vanished. Like, I don't know who they were, and 10 years ago, when I made that video, I was like, surely Homebrew will fix this. But little did I know, that was the beginning of like the gatekeeping, weirdo, Discord, Homebrew nerd communities. Like, you had these French nerds who were like, they want so much clout for being the super special boy who made the Nintendo custom firmware, but they also at the same time didn't want Nintendo to crack down on them. Here's a pro tip for anyone who wants to avoid legal trouble. Don't use your real name. Don't make your Homebrew emulator project, whatever you're doing, don't put your real name on it. Don't put a name that can be tracked back to your real identity. Who's Nintendo gonna come after? Nobody? Yeah, exactly. The whole two-faced freak show, online clout thing, awful, horrible. But eventually the 3DS did get custom firmware, but it was kind of a mess. Like, my 3DS is still running the original, I think, custom firmware, and it's like kind of a nightmare. I don't want to update it because then I'd probably lose everything, and that means none of the modern Homebrew stuff for the 3DS will work on my device. And believe me, I've tried, because I really wanted to find a piece of software that would let me back up my Pokemon X and Y save. None of the software worked, and I really need to get my Pokemon save backed up, since that cartridge has all of my Pokemon from all of my Pokemon games that I ever played transferred up onto it. Like, I went out and bought one of the Pokemon Black games, and then I began paying a monthly fee for the Pokemon Bank so I could transfer all my crap over to X and Y. Can you believe that Nintendo got away with that? It's no wonder that people flocked to Pal World when that came out. I don't know how anyone can deal with the absolute bullshittery that Nintendo's been doing over a decade. But yeah, thanks for listening to me rage about this. I was trying to go through some of my old videos to find ones that I could quickly edit, and I watched this one and I'm just like, damn, this still pisses me off. Anyway, I'll be back next week with a brand new video.